Hello YouTube, we're back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about VOD reviews. So VOD reviewing is something that you'll hear about in any game. It's one of the best methods to improve in my opinion. Reviewing your VODs isn't some kind of holy trial though. It's not something you have to do and all of a sudden you're good. There's a good way to do it, there's a bad way to do it. Some players don't even need to do it. I'm sure many players got to where they were without ever VOD reviewing. But I do believe that a focused VOD review is significantly more efficient in terms of how much time you're putting in than just playing the game. Even if you're a player who's good at learning a game on the fly just by playing it, I think an hour of VOD reviews can teach you significantly more than just playing the game on hours on end. On the other hand though, VOD reviewing can be a huge waste of time if you're kind of just watching the VOD with your brain off. So let's talk about how to get the most out of it. There are many different ways in which you want to watch a VOD, but let's talk about 3 for now. Method 1 will be just to watch the VOD and point things out that happen. This is kind of no different than when you're watching like a tournament stream. You say, oh, that was a nice F smash. Oh, why do you do that? Now, I think this is pretty pointless. You're not going to learn much, even pointing things out, unless you kind of remember the intention behind each move or you realize what the alternative was. You're not going to learn much. This is no different than watching for fun, right? It's a very casual way of VOD review. It's not a review, it's a VOD watch. This is something you don't want to do. So let's just go to method 2, and that's to look for a question. So what exactly does this mean? Well, theoretically, every situation in most fighting games has an optimal solution in how to deal with it. It's extremely unrealistic to believe that you'll literally always pick the right answer and you'll never get hit, but there's likely big holes in some of the decisions you make, maybe even the unconscious decisions, that have much better answers. You can't find an answer though if you don't even know what the question is to begin with. So the point here is to pinpoint a specific part of your game that needs a checkup. When it comes to finding a good question, don't be afraid to take a shot in the dark. In Daigo Umehara's book, he talks about choosing a direction when you're unsure how to get better. I don't remember the exact quote and I don't have the book on me, but the point was essentially to always try new things and change up your playstyle. Even if it turns out the new thing you're trying is bad, you at least learn why it's bad and you learn something new about your playstyle. And you can just go back and try something else again. You always want to be moving. Any direction is fine as long as you're moving so your playstyle does not stagnate. Well, this applies to VOD reviews as well. The point of finding a good question is to focus on a specific change you can make rather than blindly watching and pointing out the obvious. Even if the question you come up with turns out not to wield major changes in your gameplay, it is still better than never considering what you could change anyway. Here's an example of me finding a question from my own VOD reviews. I'm playing against Black Twins 13, a very good player, one of the best in Canada, and we're doing Power and Myth or Dittos. I noticed that I'm ledge trapping him fairly well. As you can see here, getting a lot of free percent, and then all of a sudden, boom, I don't take my own advice, as you can see in my other video of how to ledge trap like MKLeo, and I take a big risk and I die for it. Now, I don't need to watch this VOD to realize that taking that risk was kind of pointless. I realized that while I'm playing. But it was so much more obvious to me in post while watching the VOD, because it was just such a big throw, and it made me ask myself, how often do I just go aggressive for no reason? How often do I take unnecessary risks? So this made me find my new question. I started watching more VODs, and my question in mind was, how often do I get hit simply because I was not patient? I took an over-aggressive risk for no reason. This turned out to yield pretty good results for me. I watched some VODs and I realized sometimes I just nair at people for no reason with Mithra when I could have just whiff punished in the matchup. Sometimes I'm going for grabs and I didn't condition them to shield. It made me realize that sometimes I'm over aggressive. And how do you fix this? Well, this is kind of unrelated to VOD reviews in themselves, but the VOD review can only tell you so much. You have to actively practice it. The next time I played friendlies with my friend, I went out of my way, and he was not a fan of this, to never approach him. I only whiff punish, I only did what I could for free, and this is an overcorrection. I'm not going to play like this all the time. Sometimes you have to take risks, but I had to practice what I learned, and this will help me in the long run. So just by finding a good question, it helped me practice to find new answers, which is to play more patiently. How do I play more patiently? I'm not exactly sure yet. I'm still practicing. Finally, we have method 3, which is trying to answer a specific question. This stems off of method 2 because you need a good question to even get here, right? In this example, where I wanted to find out if I'm over aggressive for seemingly no reason, the answer was simply yes. But how exactly do I fix that? It's hard to find a concrete fix from VOD reviews alone, as I mentioned earlier. For some things, you have to consciously practice the answers. However, for a lot of other situations you struggle with, you may be able to find a concrete answer in your own VODs or someone else's. An easy example for this, not to shamelessly plug myself as usual, is my own channel. When you look at some of my videos, I try to focus specifically on a very particular point in someone's play. Although MKLeo has a better understanding of thousands of different situations than I do, in this video I specifically wanted to answer how does he ledge trap. This VOD review hyper-focused on one area of his play that we could all attempt to mimic rather than just watching the entire VOD and pointing out literally everything he does. No one can be MKLeo except MKLeo. There's no point of analyzing literally everything he does, but there are many parts of his game that are applicable to everyone. You just have to ask a good question when watching his VODs. Now, if you have a good enough question, you can start to troubleshoot during your own VODs. For example, I played against a Ness on Wi-Fi. I don't have the VOD on me right now, but after I played him, I realized quickly that he landed into me with his up air, even his nair sometimes, and it led to a lot of damage. I didn't need to VOD review just to find this question. I knew this question right after I lost. The question was simply, why am I letting him land into me and how do I stop it? So I watched the VOD and quickly began thinking of what I could have done in these situations where I got comboed. Almost right away I realized that this floaty piece of shit has no business even getting close to my head when I play a character that has a sword. I need to start anti-airing him better. I quickly found the answer. The answer became obvious within 5 minutes. This is an answer I likely could have came up with if I just kept playing this guy over and over, but it took literally less than 5 minutes to realize after watching myself fail to anti-air him in the VOD. There are many answers you can figure out on your own, and I really do believe many of these things are easier to see when you're watching a replay. Have you ever watched someone who is way better than you and you can point out all these mistakes and it almost seems like, wow, like this guy's making a lot of mistakes? Well, that's because when your brain is in hyper turbo giga overload mode from trying to actively make a decision every few frames, it is much easier to break down a decision and see what happened for what it is. This is why I think VOD reviews are significantly more efficient than just grinding the game for hours, even if you are someone that learns a lot just from playing the game. Being in a setting where your brain isn't overly focused on trying to win allows you to see decisions for what they were and break them down more easily. So that's it for today. I hope you guys learned something. Just to remember, it's better to have very specific questions. This applies to asking for help as well, by the way. You need very specific questions and you need to find the answers to those questions. Learning by just watching and hoping to get better by like osmosis, I don't even know if that makes sense. It does not work. Find good questions, look for good answers in your own VODs by either theory crafting or in others' VODs by finding people who are better than you who might already know the answers. I would appreciate a like and a subscription if you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, everybody. Stay beautiful, my friends.